Great, thank you, Sherry. All right, so finally we get to have our panel come up. I'll invite the adult children and their mothers to come and have a seat. We have Keegan Reynolds. He is the youngest of 3 boys, and he starts SLU for his master's degree in about 9 days. He has had multiple surgeries for Chiari and does have pain on a daily basis, but his parents are very proud of him and all he's achieved with that. Katelyn is 16 years old. She just got her driver's license. Congratulations. She's a junior in high school. She hopes to be a cardiologist or cardiothoracic surgeon someday. And she has a 4.1 GPA, so I'm sure she will achieve that goal. You would never know it with all of that she has a complex congenital heart disease and had her first of 7 open heart surgeries at 6 months old. And also at 12 years old, she pretty much missed 6th grade. So her mom is very proud of her and says she's everything a mom could hope for. And we look forward to hearing from both of these people about, how they've overcome all of their challenges and working with the schools and doing that. And then, of course, Lisa and Karin, the mothers, the success from your children speaks volumes about what probably accounts for the majority of your life. Somehow you're still able to travel and volunteer while you're role models and mentors to these great kids. So I think it's because of you guys they've been able to overcome all these obstacles. So how did they do this? I'm going to hand them the mics, let them give you a brief story of their history, and then I open up to all of you questions on how you can also overcome some of your challenges. Do you guys want to start and just kind of give a quick history?
So I'm going to pass it to Lisa and let them start.
I don't know if there is a quick history. Keegan has arm Chiari and Syringomyelia and an unspecified connective tissue disease. What do you want to do?
No, I think that's great.
And so he's made it through high school pretty much most of the senior year. That's when we started having surgeries. His case was rather complicated, so but he made it through. He attended Lindenwood. He had a scholarship. We're blessed. He is very, very intelligent, so he had a full scholarship for Lindenwood. And I really found with schools, if you're just really nice, they're usually really nice. And so everything we say with a smile on our face, and that really tends to help. They were very generous with extending his scholarship each time that he had to leave class for surgery. One semester he had to leave class 2 weeks before the semester was over, so they were very generous in letting him come back after the surgery the next semester and taking all of the tests, so that it wasn't just a wasted semester. We also worked with the disabilities coordinator at Lindenwood the last couple of years because Keegan does have central sleep apnea, so he sleeps with a machine and he would rather have a private room. So I think they just required a letter from Dr. Lindbergh, and they got him a private housing. It's something I didn't even really know was available, but someone recommended it and it worked out. And now we're just starting a new journey at SLU. So really his has been a big success story with Lindenwood. They were fantastic to work with, everyone, the professors. He also had a sort of like a, I'm not sure what they call it, but with the letter from his doctor supporting it, that whenever he had absences due to his illness, it wasn't questioned in any of his work, or wasn't held against him in any fashion. All of his professors were really great with that. So, and now he's starting his master's at SLU, and we couldn't be more proud of it. One of the other programs that I will mention is vocational rehab. That's been tremendous with picking up any expenses that scholarships didn't cover. With SLU, they will pay for his housing and a portion of his tuition. SLU is private, so it's a little bit different, but like Onslow, they would pay for all the tuition. So that's you guys too. and they pay for the housing and meal plans and things. So that has been a really tremendous resource for Keegan and our family and his educational future. And one last thing as a parent is that Keegan wanted to do history, and we said no, we'll try to do something else that's going to make money. And then after all the surgeries, we found out, that's what he's passionate about. Just let your kids follow their passions. They'll actually be much more successful in their endeavors if they're passionate about what they're doing. So I think that's going to work out great because he's going to head down the professor route, I think. I don't know if that's the information we're looking for. Right? That's great.
Can I just say something? So I know these guys very well, and I tried to say this at our last appointment, but I also heard about Keegan and how he's doing. At some point, if you ever have a chance, you should ask him about what he's studying because it is so impressive. It is so impressive what he's doing, and I couldn't be more pleased with how he's doing. What I really wanted to say is that your doctors are always delighted to get these letters, and because making sure that you guys what you need and have what you need is our utmost priority. If there's a hesitancy or if there's any delay, just remind us. We're just like everybody else, we get busy and it's probably lost in the office somewhere. But just remind us we're always happy to help in any way to provide whatever resources we can.
And one last thing I'll add as a parent is your speech about being an advocate for your child in the school. It so much applies to being an advocate for your child in the medical community. Dr. Lippert is fantastic, but we have some not so fantastic before him. And it is our jobs as parents to be advocates for our children. Keep records, ask questions. If they don't give you the answers, keep pushing. It's just so important to know. Do research. Please research. Doctors do not have time to sit with you 2 hours at every meeting to tell you what you need to know about your child's problems. You've got to do the research and find out and ask the questions.
So we're just a few years behind these two, and so it's fascinating to listen to what we have ahead of us. Katelyn has a 504 plan, and she has had a 504 plan for all of her life. And what I am learning about myself is that I can be sort of that emotional responder. So whereas our 504 plan meetings would go very smoothly when Katelyn was in the elementary school all the way through junior high, now that she's reached the high school level and we have a lot more people that we have to sort of work with and talk to and make sure are present, that the tiger mom comes out. I tell stories often of when I'm coming to the hospital with Katelyn in the back because we need to go to the ER or be admitted for something. I'm no longer as reasonable and well-equipped as I look right now, right? And so that is actually can be seen in an educational standpoint as well when things don't seem to be going the way that they should be going for Katelyn. So that's been an interesting transition for us to go from elementary school, middle school to the high school level. And she may have something to add to that.
So do you guys have questions for them? Yeah.
I do. Keegan, what type of arm Chiari?
Correct.
What? I don't know.
I think it's Arnold Chiari first.
Do you know what type of Chiari he does?
I guess it's okay to talk about that.
Yeah.
My rule.
Well, you already heard they asked the question about connective tissue disorders. That's an important factor in his care. And it's along the spectrum of 1, or some would say 1.5. But
And I just asked this, my son had a decompression done, Dr. Smith did his, and he had Arnold Chiari formation 1. And it took a long time for them to diagnose it, and probably by mistake, because he had obstruction for sleep, and it actually started when he was a baby, and I was nursing, and they couldn't figure out. I'm nursing him, he got gaining weight, he had failure to thrive, and it turned out that his brain wasn't telling him to swallow or breathe, and so I was just curious on.
My first surgery was actually, I was 5 years old, and at 1993, obviously, we started in 2012, they're still figuring things out, we still are, so I had surgery when I was 5, and then I was fine until I was about 15. And that's when I started getting anxiety that led to panic attacks that was coming from me not breathing when I was sleeping and things like that. So I definitely relate to years of not knowing exactly what was going on. That's really tough. So.
And his surgery at 5 is not for Chiari.
No.
Malformation in his spine, so they did a fusion at 5. Chiari didn't find out until he was 18. And so 3 years of obstructive acne was actually central acne. So that's a different, still sleeps with the machine, but a different type of machine. And surgery is going to help with that.
Which is had the same thing. We have central acne. He has to do the oxygen.
But he does really well with the machine. He's very faithful.
At this point, it feels weirder if I don't sleep with it than when I don't like to go to sleep without it just because something's missing on my face. So it takes a while, but you eventually get used to it.
I guess the only negative thing is sleepovers and things. Kids, when he was a little younger, it's embarrassing. But he does really well.
Okay, I have something else. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate, like, with IEPs and going with school. And my son is 14. He had Dr. Powell, Stephanie Powell, a neuropsychologist. She was awesome. The doctors are awesome because she did go on a conference call. So when we were doing IEPs at school, she was open to being on the phone because there's that fine line between educational diagnosis and medical diagnosis, and she really helped me advocate and fight for my son's needs in school, which I still don't understand the medical line and educational line. But I'm just kind of enhancing what he said that Dr. Powell, she was awesome. I mean, I would let her know when the IEP was, even with his therapist, when I get his evaluations, I give them copies of it so that we all know what's going on in school. And I always do a sign form that they can communicate with the therapist if they needed to, if there was questions. So, I mean, kudos to doctors.
So, Katelyn and Keegan, I have a question for you. What role did both of you play in moving forward through your education? Were you an active participant and making sure you got what you needed? Tell me about your experience.
Well, my parents definitely had it. They helped more than anything. After my surgeries, I basically had rethought my life and decided what I wanted to do a little differently and what I really wanted to do for a career, things like that. And then once I had support from my parents and, they're in contact with Dr. Lambert, which helped a lot. And so, I mean, they definitely spearheaded the entire thing. For me, the biggest thing was just recreating a new life, one that was going to fit what I needed.
So I definitely took a larger role in high school, like with 504 plan meetings and stuff like that. And yeah, I would be, along with my mom, we would advocate for me because I had a new counselor who didn't really know how 504 plan meetings worked. And we're still trying to figure that out. But yeah, so I definitely took a larger part in my own advocacy in high school, but not necessarily in elementary school and middle school.
I have a question. So, as a clinician, one of the things I see is the biggest pitfall is that translation from a pediatric patient and pediatric caregivers to adult caregivers, and I think that sort of happens at the same time where there are a lot of transitions in your life. I guess you may have more experience, but how have you navigated that, and did that influence your selection of colleges, living close to home, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. That being able to deal with my problems is a big thing. My family's a big part of that, so that definitely had a lot to do with my college choices. I wanted to stay local. And it had a lot to do with my career choice as well. I wanted to be a professor, which after I'm tenured at least will provide some flexibility. I don't necessarily have to be too physically active as a professor. or anything of that sort. So it's just really finding what works best for you.
Yeah, and I can kind of add on to that. I am looking at colleges right now as a junior in high school, and that is definitely something I'm considering, and it's a major key point in my college search, is either staying local and just staying within my own realm of doctors, or branching out but finding a good hospital where I know I can be safe.
Why did you have a choice between an IEP and 504, or what's more helpful in that 504 in your case?
So it probably comes a little bit back to what you had started sharing earlier, is that there are certain qualifications for a student to have an IEP, and Katelyn is off the charts intelligent, much like Keegan. So from an IEP standpoint and educational based need, she didn't meet those qualifications. And so at the time I mentioned, we had a school counselor who was fabulous, and she said, she's not going to qualify for an IEP, but there is this thing called a 504, which I knew very little, and I didn't even know that I needed to know anything. And so she really walked alongside of me and said, okay, here's what we're going to use, and so was able to provide the documentation for the 504 using the medical condition. And so she has classroom adaptations, and is absent a lot. We were adding up, she's missed over 120 hours of school, which I'm sure Keegan has missed as much, if not more. And so, lengthier times to turn in her homework, or extra time to review and be prepared for the tests. She also has additional medical things where she's not able to take stairs and things like that that have been added to that plan. So it was actually from the school counselor walking alongside of me back in the good days to say, this one's not going to work, but we can go here.
Did you guys find any individuals in the school system or the school district that really you felt a strong partnership with? If you did, can you tell us, was it a guidance counselor, a nurse, a specific teacher that maybe really helped you navigate the school system?
Keegan was already at high school age, a senior in high school before we started having all the surgeries. So for us, no. And then once you get to college, and you're just kind of on your own, to try to find the right people. And again, that's where the parents, it really is important, even at that age, because these kids have been through a lot. So they're not, I think they still need us to be their advocate, but we really didn't. But we didn't really have that need either in the public school system.
To answer Tana's question, so I would say that the three primary people that have been guiding influences on our ability to walk successfully with Katelyn and the school district would be the school nurse. Her elementary school nurse was fabulous and actually probably saved her life. Also the guidance counselor, as I mentioned, at the junior high level, who said, this is what we're going to do. And then even the principal. And so I think reaching out to the principal and letting them know, this is an amazing girl that you have in your school, and she's going to do fabulous things and put your name, your school's name in the papers. But I really would like your help, for you to partner with us and to make sure that the teachers are there and all of those things. So those are the three that I think have been primary influencers in our success.
One last thing. Once high school's over, you start getting to college level. Most colleges do have a disability department. The professors don't talk like they do in high school. So for me, it was really important. I had excuses with the disability department to miss classes, but after I had met with my professors taught me a little bit more like a human rather than a child. And once I explained to them what was really going on, they were even more helpful to me or for me than the disability department had to be. It's hard explaining yourself to them, but once you get comfortable enough, I found that they had a lot of empathy and would definitely work with me really, really well. So
it's important that you express those things and don't be shy, because to look at Keegan, you wouldn't know that he suffers with chronic pain every single day and stomach problems and all the other various things. You wouldn't know that. So he has to stand up for himself at this point, because as much as Mom hates it, she's sort of out of the picture.
I've got a dual question for the parents and the kids. Like, in regards to like restrictions you guys have been given throughout your life because of your conditions, how you as mothers, have you been able to support your kids in finding things that they can do versus the stuff they can't? And how are you as children, like, what would be good? Because my kid's 7, and he's, you know, like, not being able to do the trampolines and things, to him that's the end of the world. How can your parents better support you, or, you know, things too? So like, if you all could answer from your perspective.
So she's grabbing, she's like trying to take the microphone away.
Like, because I want to know, you know, I'm not him. I see it, but I don't feel it physically, or, you know what I mean? And so, like, I want to know from both points, because mine is so young, I can start.
It's been so hard because Katelyn's from the time she was 9 months old, she was told she can't do certain things. So she can't do physical contact sports, she can't do trampoline, she can't do gymnastics, she can't, because she will run the risk of falling and hurting herself and getting a brain bleed. And so that's hard then as a parent to say, can't. But what can you do, right? And so, and we're even at the point now where she's been given special permission to play some sports, and then that got taken back away from her. And so it's, I find it challenging to sort of say, maybe you could try this, maybe you could try that, and turn it to the what you can do versus what you can't. And so that's kind of the angle that I come from, is kind of trying to brainstorm for like, well, maybe golf would be a good sport if you can't play, or if we shouldn't be playing tennis, or because you can do that. So we're in the midst of all of that. I think it's just brainstorming and coming up with different ideas. Or, you know, would you like to try chess, or would you like to try this? We battle, even over this microphone, about how they do that successfully.
I was just going to say, yeah, I was told I could not do a lot of things when I was little, and I was just told that I was able to play tennis a few years ago. So I played high school tennis for about 2 years until my heart condition got pretty severe again. So I was told that I'm not allowed to play this season, and immediately when I was told no, I was like, I'm going to write my coaches and I'm going to be the manager of the tennis team, because I want to participate even though I can't play. So I just think like finding like ways around that. Like when I was little, like after my heart surgery, I took up crochet because I couldn't play sports, but I could crochet. So that was another thing I did.
I guess by the time that I played tennis in high school as well, and I never played contact sports growing up just because of my first surgery and neck issues. But I played tennis throughout high school, and then, like I said, when I was 18, my second started, and I got nice dabs, my eyes started bouncing. Everyone thought I was really awful at tennis all of a sudden, but I had an excuse. So after that, I didn't really have to deal with the sports as much, but I just switched to ping pong, and that seemed to be something that I can handle. So just figuring out what really works for you is kind of an individual thing, and it's a tough thing to go through, but it's just finding your own passions and really making your life what it can be with what you have to work with.
And as parents, I mean, that one, his dad was always very, very rigorous about, no, you can't get on a trampoline, I don't care who's doing it, and I don't care what the doctors say, and you can't ride a roller coaster. So his dad really stuck to the rules. But I think that tennis and, like you said, golf, and just doing those kind of things. The problem is the things that they can't do, that's the things they really want to do. Like football.
Yeah, for him right now at 7, it's not really the sports. It's like this year we didn't get season passes to Six Flags, and he really likes, you know, certain things. But even like last year, he would ride like one kid ride, and he'd be done, and we'd have to go home, you know, and stuff. So him physically realizing his limitations, but like, you know, like I said, I'm trying to encourage him to do other things, but, you know, of course, the things, like you said, that you can't do are the things that you want to do, and stuff, so.
So how have, with respect to your friends, what have been some ways to, you know, you had said, you know, the sleepovers initially were, you know, a little uncomfortable and awkward, and I'm sure Keegan had some, even sometimes as parents, I know just letting your you're used to keeping safe at home. How have you navigated friendships and relationships?
I am lucky enough that my best friend also has a complex medical condition. So I remember we met in 2nd grade, and I know like it might be a little different for other children, but we found out we took the same medicine and started freaking out, and we got so excited and we were immediately best friends. So it was just stuff like that for me that kind of got me through, knowing that I could relate to other children. And then also I attend a camp called Camp Rhythm, which is a camp for kids with heart defects, and I also met another one of my best friends there who has a heart defect, and we just immediately bonded over that. So it's just stuff like that.
For me, my friends, I was lucky to have friends that were really understanding. They understood that I had to change my lifestyle a bit. Maybe, I'm not going to be going outside wrestling you anymore. Things like that. Well, we weren't doing that at 18, but it's just, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, are there any other questions? We're running over our time. Okay, well, thank you to everybody for coming, and thanks to all of us. Fantastic, and oh, I have a raffle. We have. So, did everybody get their names put into the drawing? Are we missing? Oh.
Tim, do you want to say something?
Oh, okay. I thought she was asking about drawing. I was like, no. If anyone who has not already participated in the genetic study that we're doing here would like to participate, please come talk to me after they finish.
So the Resource Center has been kind enough to give me a couple of books to our event. We've got 2 different books. There's a IEP guide, and if you are not lucky enough to win it, they do have it in the Resource Center that you can use.
And we'll talk about 504 plans as well.
That's right. And then we also have this little book of simple sayings, and this was written by one of Dr. Limbrick's patients, and it's just some positive quotes about, going through life. And love. So Keegan, you get to draw the first winner.
Jane, Benny?
There you go.